Everybody, welcome back. It's been about month or two now since we've kind of everybody jump on here for the Arkansas football report with Otis Kirk. I want to thank everybody for jumping on today. Got a little bit of an alfresco feel today, so you might hear my dog barking, also known as Max the sound producer. But let's bring him back in, man, the myth, the legend, Otis Kirk. Man, Otis, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great, man. Going good.
How's the dogs doing?
Sleeping. They're good right now because they're sleeping, man. All three of them.
Oh, that's a good
Right
thing.
by my feet.
I'm outside today, and Max is out here patrolling the yard to make sure that
Dog's
there's
by
no
himself,
rabbits.
and Julius and Bulldog are sleeping together, and then the dog's by himself over here. So,
Nice, nice.
but
Well, it's been a hot second since we've jumped on together. How you been?
doing good. Last week was crazy. I mean, it was busy, man. I mean, it was a busy week, but no, I'm doing good, and just covering football, doing basketball and baseball for the papers, and football too, obviously. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's been three sports. I'll be honest with you. I'm glad basketball's over. I mean, not that they lost, but just not having another sport to cover right now because baseball's 4 days a week. Football will be three when they come back, and so that's a full plate right there. But plus they weren't even if miracle to happen. They'd won the SEC tournament. They weren't going to do anything in the NCAA. I mean, this team's not. This team's just not. It just wasn't a very good team.
No, and I think that
It
Caleb
wasn't.
Battle, he really is, alluded to the one of the root causes of this team was that we finally played as a not before last we played as a team, and tonight we didn't.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I mean, it's just a bunch of hero balls, all it was.
yeah. There's a lot of that been going on, and I, I've said before. I know uh, basketball. Eric recruited himself into a bad team this year. He made some
Hmm.
mistakes. I think getting rid of Darian Ford and bringing in Najee Harris, I never understood that. You had the
Hmm.
other kid from Alabama. I don't remember his name, but you could bring in kids like Najee Harris out of the portal. It's not going to play. Whereas Darian Ford was somebody I know you could have developed. I know more about him than I did the kid from Alabama that left, but both of them wanted to come back.
That
I
was
don't
Barry
know.
Dunning Jr.
Yeah, he just felt like Eric made some mistakes in recruiting and got some kids out. L. Ellis was not winning at Louisville. I like
That was a
I
3-win team,
like
if I'm not mistaken.
I like Tremont
Hmm.
Mark. I liked Khalif Battle, obviously Caleb Battle, however you pronounce his name. I
Hmm.
like Battle. I like Mark. I, I like I like Mitchell.
God,
Look,
he come
look.
on.
Blocker was the one I didn't understand not playing down the stretch. I mean, I love Blocker, uh,
Yep.
but for the most part, I felt like I thought against Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament, I thought Brazil gave them a lot. He was in
Hmm.
there rebounding. Brazil played different. Usually, to me, he just stands in the corner, shoots threes, and he did that start the South Carolina game. Made two, but he didn't score but 2 points for us tonight. But to
Hmm.
me, against Vanderbilt, he was active. He was in there, getting rebounds, fighting at the basket, putting back baskets, putbacks. That was a different Brazil than we'd seen most of the time. I felt like he was, man, he's got to put on some weight. No matter what level he played, whether it's Arkansas, transfer
Hmm.
portal, or NBA, he's got to figure out a way to put on some weight because he's just getting pushed around, man. I mean, he's skinny and with his height, I know he's got a frame that doesn't not built to put on a lot of weight, but he's got to figure out a way to put on some weight, even if it's just muscle. I mean, got to put
Hmm.
something on because he's really skinny right now. But anyway,
Yeah.
my basketball take. I don't know, but
Yeah. So, also want to get all your guys' thoughts, questions, send those in. We'll discuss those. We'll go over them. We'll hash them out. We'll go over those. And also, you can follow Otis at Otis Kirk 23 on Twitter as well. So we're right in the middle of spring practice. It kicked off last week. Um, I want to say it's been a good week. It really has. I feel like some of the I wouldn't say negativity, but I can tell you that there's more positivity in that locker room right now than there was ever at any point last year.
Yeah.
It feels like a team again.
Yeah, and I think it will be, and I think it will translate down or go all the way down to the fan base eventually. The hiring of Bobby helped Sam with his perception out there of him. The hiring of Bobby Petrino, but I think opening up these scrimmages, which he's going to open up. There's been nothing open to the public yet, but they will be the not next Saturday, but the following 3 Saturdays. So not just the spring, and he is going to play a spring game. To me, that's huge.
Yes,
I mean that's great. Instead of these just scrimmages that I didn't like those. I love the idea of a real spring game. Let those walk-on guys play. See what they can do under a game-like conditions. I like that. I hope Sam doesn't change his mind before then. But he announced the other day that he will have a true spring game. I love that idea. I think once he starts letting fans come out there and watch his team those Saturdays, I think there'll be more positivity from the fans, Jason. I think secrecy, it's okay to act like Nick Saban or Kirby Smart if you win like them. But when you go 4-8, it doesn't translate well to the fans. It just doesn't. Like I said, if you really act like Kirby Smart, you better win like Kirby Smart. And and that's not a shot at Sam. That's just the way I feel. I feel the same way. If you want to act like another coach and all that secrecy, when you go out there and you're all that secrecy, and then you get blown out at home, score 3 points against Mississippi State, you get beat by BYU, you get blown out by Auburn and Missouri. People wondering, what are you doing that's so secret? I mean, I think opening up, making the fans feel like they're part of the team again will help Sam. Oh, now, look, hiring Bobby Petrino, opening up to the fans in the spring, all that's great. But if they don't win in the fall, it's not. I mean, obviously it's all going to be back down the drain. But I'm assuming they need to come out of September 3-2 or 4-1. I mean, obviously 5-0 would be great, but they've got a rough September schedule, and with the way the past season went, they need something positive to come out of September. And look, some people say, well, that's settling for mediocrity to say 3-2. Well, it would be if you were Alabama or somebody, but if you're Arkansas and you're coming off 4-8 season, I don't see it that way, because you're playing one game in Fayetteville in September. You've got August, you've got the game in Little Rock. You've got UAB in Fayetteville. You've got UAPB in Little Rock. So you've got 2 wins there that you should get, but you go to Oklahoma State, you go to Auburn, and you've got A&M in Arlington. So, and look, those are not easy games, but if you win one of them, you're 3-2. Then you've got, I think after that, if I'm not mistaken, you only leave Fayetteville twice the rest of the season. You go to Mississippi State, and then you end up at Missouri. So, so you've got, assuming you're going to play well at home, which they didn't last year. We've talked about that numerous times, but you can't lay eggs at home. You can't do it. I'm assuming they're going to play better at home, and it's not going to be easy. I mean, you got Texas, LSU, Ole Miss. You got some tough teams coming into Fayetteville, but they actually had pretty good success against Ole Miss here in Fayetteville. They've had pretty good success. They've won both the games. They've had pretty good luck against Texas here.
SEC has done them some favors with Ole Miss too by scheduling Ole Miss in November versus in September, because I'm going to tell you what, anytime you face Arkansas faces an opponent at home in November, they have a distinct advantage, because most of those teams are used to playing in the warm weather. They come up here and it's bone-chilling cold. And now you've seen LSU lay a couple of eggs up here more times than I can count. You've seen where Ole Miss has basically tucked tail and run because they didn't want to have anything to do with the cold weather as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing too about LSU. It seems like that game is almost always pretty close. No matter how how much difference there is in the two teams, most of the time that's a pretty good game. So these are games at home that Arkansas, if they're playing well, can win their share of. And if you come out 3-2 or 4-1 out of September, you're setting yourself up to possibly have some success this season, and obviously 4-1 or 5-0 would be. I mean, I'm not, math was my best subject in school, so I'm not. I know how to figure the records, but I don't want to get on and go, they're going to be 5-0 coming out of that. Look, I mean, those are tough games. But if you could be 4-1 or 3-2, I think they really, really, really need to be a minimum of 3-2. I mean.
So we've talked in the past about arcs, like a 4-game arc during the season where Sam's has noticed and he's addressed it. We've talked about this too, and I think this is going to be the biggest 4-game arc of the season. Now, last year we talked about it where Arkansas was on a 5-game road trip. They had, of course, with A&M was considered it was a home game, but it was actually more of a neutral site again. I cannot wait to get rid of that. But this is the 5-game arc that I see that if Arkansas can get through, it basically has done a 180. So you've got Tennessee on October 5th, which is my birthday, in Fayetteville. Followed 2 weeks, you're getting a week extra to prepare for LSU LSU at home. That's huge.
Yeah.
Then you on the road to Starkville, and then 2 more games followed up at home with Ole Miss and Texas. Yeah. Now, again,
and don't you get a week before Texas too? You get 2 weeks before Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
You get 2 weeks. Yeah, you get
an extra 2 bye weeks in there, and you play Texas and LSU pretty well, and you're going to have 2 weeks to prepare for them and heal up too. Not just prepare, but heal up. So I think that's huge for them, Jason. I like. That's why I'm saying though. That's why I think coming out of September with a winning record is so important, because those are tough games the rest of the season, but they're winnable. Some of those are win. I mean, probably honestly, maybe the toughest game after September is Missouri, the last game. They've never won there, and they don't play well against Missouri. And I mean, I
almost feel like they kind of just they kind of turn it in a little bit. They just are so disinterested. I feel like unless it comes down to the fourth quarter, they're within a score, then I think that things kind of change. But the perception going into that game, I feel like is completely different than their outlook or their perception of the first 11 games of the season. At that point, I feel like they kind of are like we're done with this a little bit. We are all bumped up. We all have nicks and scratches. We just want to get past this game so that we can get healed up if there's a bowl. And you also got Louisiana Tech the week before. So you have really kind of a primer game, if you will, which is where, if I'm not mistaken, that's where Billy Napier came from. And I think that they still kind of have the remnance of a good team.
No, he was at Louisiana. He was at Lafayette.
Louisiana, that's right.
Yeah, Louisiana Tech's usually pretty good. I don't think they've been recently, but they were always a dangerous game. But Louisiana Tech's out of Ruston. I've actually worked combines there at their college there in Ruston many times. I've worked Powerade combine down there back when it existed. But anyway, that'll be that's probably not a gimme game, but there are no gimme games. I mean, we've seen that on the schedule. No. But I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to be honest with you. I know fans will cringe when I say this, but there's no way on God's green earth I would be scheduling Oklahoma State or anybody else. I would find the 4 weakest teams I could find, play them in that non-conference, because, and I talked to a former player Thursday at practice. He saw me and came up there and sat with me at the practice Thursday. He came up there and talked to me. He was asking me, he said, why are they playing Oklahoma State? And he said, I'd play the 4 easiest teams I could find. And I said, I agree with you. Because of the SEC, he played against the SEC schedule. He knows how brutal that is. And I said, I don't know. I said, I guess that's what they want to do, is play a non-conference tough game. But until they get this program really fixed a little bit more than what it is, I'd be trying to find me some easier games than BYU, Oklahoma State and stuff. But that's just me. I mean, but it is what it is. They're going to play them. And I think they can beat Oklahoma State. Early in the year, Oklahoma State's usually not as good as they are later on. I know
and it's hot as hell over there too.
South Alabama went over there last year and just smoked them. at 33-7, I believe it was, in Stillwater. So they can be beat. Marquise Robinson talked to me about that. And he obviously knows and says they've got a lot more talent here than they do at South Alabama. And he talked to me about that, about they can go over and win that game. He thinks they can go over and beat them. So I'm looking forward to going. I've never been to Stillwater. When I say that earlier about not playing, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying that's what Arkansas should do. That's what I would do till this program.
Well, and I'm going to back you up on that too, because
I just find me 4 wins, and then you can even if you go 4-4 in the SEC, you're 8-4. I mean that, and then you win a bowl game, you're 9-4.
So the playoffs expanded 12 teams this year. That's kind of what I wanted to bring up, because when you have 4 easy non-conference opponents, and if Arkansas has a great team that may have 2 losses, I will put money on it that they will be a top 12 team. At that point, now you're looking at a possible playoff entry versus, you're only the top 4. So now you're expanding it by 3-fold. And there's talks of it possibly already going to 14 the year after that, because let's face it, everybody loves money. And I mean, the conference loves money, and even more so the TV networks love money even more.
I wish they'd make it 16. That would make sense. Make it 16.
It makes sense.
Nobody gets a bye. You play 16 teams, and everybody plays the same amount of games. I don't like byes. But it's okay to reward, I guess, the SEC and Big Ten champions. They probably deserve it with the schedule. Those 2 conferences will play to get there. If they do get a bye, they probably, Georgia and Alabama or Texas, or especially, but you got Texas and OU coming into the SEC. You've got Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, my God, Florida. Why people have always griped about, I want a tougher schedule. Well, bigger names in Fayetteville. You've got, forget Oklahoma State. You've got Alabama. You've got Ole Miss.
You got your conference.
LSU.
That's all the big names you need.
You've got Tennessee coming to Fayetteville already. What else? I don't know. I feel like with the SEC schedule, and now they've added OU and Texas, and I think getting Texas back is huge, because and I think OU could develop into a rival. But I feel like Arkansas has always hated the Texas Longhorns. You don't have to fake a rivalry. You don't have to fake a grudge game. True hate there. I don't know how much Texas hates Arkansas. They probably hate the Aggies stuff more. But I do know Arkansas fans absolutely hate the Texas Longhorns. I grew up on that, man. And
same here.
You grew up with this, and and the old Texas saying, you know what?
Hey, back in the 80s, when my uncle went to school, there were frats and sororities that they would hang sheets outside the windows, and it said Tuck Texas on it.
Yeah.
You rolled through there, and it was all over Maple.
This is not some generated rivalry. It's true hatred,
no.
Man. It's true hatred. So that's why I like Texas coming back in. I hope Arkansas can play them most years, because
and the schedule's going to go to 9 games eventually within the next few years anyway. Greg Sankey's already talked about that.
Yeah, and when it does, and if you play an Oklahoma State or BYU or somebody, you're crazy. You find you 3 wins if this goes to 9 conference games. They're absolutely nuts over there if they schedule 3 powerhouse team out of those 3 games, because that's just
there's only 2 options at this. You either schedule easy non-conference and have a solid 8-9 conference game schedule that can propel you hopefully to 10 wins. I think that would get you into the playoff. Or you can schedule 3, maybe 4 or 2 maybe solid out of conference opponents and wind up with an 8-4 season. And if that's what you want to do, you will not see the playoffs. So you're right on track, Otis, with that, with making sure that you're having the softer non-conference to pad that schedule to get you to that 10-11 win plateau, so that way that you can have a chance to get into the 12, maybe 14 team playoff, because at that point, that's the only way that Arkansas is going to get in. 1, with expansion, and 2, with a little bit of a softer non-conference. And fans have been clamoring about this for decades. getting back to, the prodigal son look for the Razorbacks. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you keep scheduling, a little bit more difficult conference opponents, it's not going to happen because you're really rolling the dice a little bit more than probably what you should have, especially whenever the SEC goes to 9-team conference schedule.
Especially when your program is down right now, and they need to be figuring out ways to get the program back up. And just, I mean, I'm being realistic on this. I mean, the program is down, and to get it back up, you need to pad your confidence in the 9-conference, and then come out. I mean, think about this. If this year, if you could go 4-0 in the 9-conference, you go 5-3 in the conference, you're 9-3. You go win a bowl game, you're 10-3, Jason.
That's a damn good season.
Yeah,
especially after what they just came off of.
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about. Alabama. Nick Saban wouldn't accept. This is not Nick Saban. Arkansas is not.
And Nick Saban's retired now too.
Right now, I'm talking. I'm doing a realistic talk about where they're at right now, and I mean, they can get this thing turned around, but they're going to have to. They're going to have to be smart with everything, and hiring Bobby was a great first step for Sam. He'd have hired a nobody, it wouldn't have been a nobody, but a no name. Bobby is won here. He knows what it is to win here. I think now what they need to do over there, they need to get somebody in the program. I don't know what the title would be, but they need to get somebody over there that fights for these Arkansas kids that the former players can relate to and get. I mean, you may have to create a job, but somebody promote the University of Arkansas, reach out to these former players, and somebody fight for the recruiting of the Arkansas kids. That's what they need. I mean, it's okay to fight for these Georgia kids, but you've got to recruit your state. And I'm not talking about saying that. I'm talking about actually doing it, putting words to action. And they need to hire somebody over in that football office that's familiar with Arkansas, that's not viewed as an outsider. Because I hear it. I've got a million friends that are these former players, and that's what I hear all the time, Jason. All they bring in is outsiders, and they want somebody to fight for these Arkansas kids. I've asked Sam about it. He says, "Well, I'm from Arkansas." He coached here 3 years. He's not from Arkansas. He was an assistant coach here. I get that. I know he loves the state. He's going to live in Hot Springs. I get all that. And the Bulldog agrees with me. But,
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, he agrees with me. But come here, Bulldog. Come here. But but no, I mean, I just feel like they need to create a job over there and hire somebody that the fans can relate to through the Razorbacks, and it'll help with donations. It will help with getting NIL money. Get somebody here that fans can relate to. Do I have somebody in mind? No, but I mean, there are people out there. I mean, I've talked to former players about this. They call me with this idea, and I mean, and they just don't feel. They feel like right now there's nobody fighting for the Arkansas kids at the University of Arkansas. Maybe that's wrong, but I'm just telling you, perception is huge. Whether it's true or not, if the perception's there, then it's you've got an issue if the perception is that. And it is. That is the perception.
So, Sam did make a good first step by bringing Bobby back, because you've had a hell of a problem recruiting South Arkansas kids, which Bobby has not had a problem with. And you bring him back into the fold. Now, one of the things that's going to get Arkansas back on track, increase recruiting, especially in-state recruiting, also helps with donations too as well. And that's solid play at quarterback. And this guy right here, Taylor Green, is excelling in his first week of practice. That's the next first step. Is you got the clubhouse side of it. Now you got the field side of it. And from what I've seen and kind of took in this first week is that I wouldn't say he's the clear cut number one yet, but you kind of see the writing on the wall. And it wouldn't surprise me if you see some guys kind of transfer out too, because it's great to have a great solid second backup quarterback. But right now, this is the guy you're going to have to ride the horse with.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, though, you've got to watch that number 2 quarterback too, because Taylor Green could get hurt, and then all of a sudden your number 2 becomes very important, and that's why the battle. I think Taylor Green has won the starting quarterback job, but then here comes the next question: who's number 2? Because you're one play away from being number 1. You're one injury away from being number 1, and dual threat quarterback can get hurt in a heartbeat. Is it going to be Malachi Singleton? Is it going to be Jacoby Criswell? Going to be KJ Jackson? I don't think it'll be KJ this year. I think KJ's got a chance to be a really good quarterback.
Yeah,
but I don't see a true freshman beating out Malachi and Jacoby. So I think the number 2 is down to 2 people, because I think number 1 is Taylor. I think number 4 is KJ. Okay, so that gets it back to Jacoby and Malachi, and look, man, Malachi has looked a lot better in throwing the football, because he's been taking most of the number 2 snaps. They've alternated that some, but when I saw him with the number 2 units the first day, I was shocked till I saw him throw. And I see now why he's probably number 2, or maybe with a slight, but Jacoby does great things too. Thursday, Taylor had that long pass to Isaiah Satina that went about 60 yards. I think I called it 60 yards. I think they were about their own 40, so maybe 65 yards, whatever. It was a long touchdown bomb.
Hit him and Davion Dozier, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, then Jacoby Criswell found Davion Dozier in the back of the end zone, in the red zone, for a touchdown. Dozier made a great catch. It was a circus catch. It was a good pass, but the defense, it was good coverage, and Jacoby found him. So Jacoby had a nice throw. Davion Dozier had a great catch, man. It wasn't a good catch. It was a great catch. So, yeah, I mean, I like all 4 of those quarterbacks. So, I mean, I love KJ's going to be a good quarterback. I'm not down on him at all. I'm being realistic once I don't see a freshman quarterback coming in and beating these guys out right now. I just don't see it. Maybe it happens, but I don't see it. But I think in future, somewhere down the road, KJ's going to be just fine. But I do see Taylor, though, man. Some people thinking, well, I don't know about him. You got to forget he's from Boise State. Boise State should have never gotten him. This kid.
Bobby was trying to get him in the first place, and
that was his number 1 quarterback target. Yeah, that was his number 1 target, was Taylor Green. It wasn't somebody he settled for. That was his number 1 target.
No.
Yeah, I mean, people need to forget Boise State stuff. That kid's legit.
Yeah, and for him to have success this year, the offensive line is going to have to step up from what they were. You've seen where, you brought Eric Mateus back, which, again, that's another name that has been in the Arkansas system before, which it helps, just like with Bobby. You've seen, I've put video on there too. You and I have both seen it, where Sam is spending a considerable amount of time on the offensive line side of Indy drills. And him and Eric have been splitting them up. He takes a group, Eric takes a group, and everybody else does their own thing. Last year, you saw Sam kind of always going and bouncing around from position to position. He has trust in this staff now where he doesn't have to try to, micromanage a little bit.
Yeah.
He can go down there and focus on the task at hand, which honestly is getting the offensive line back up to an SEC standard. And last year, we all saw it wasn't it. Now I think
Bobby Spring will run the offense instead of Dan Enos. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't have to worry about that.
You can hand Bobby the keys to offense, and you shouldn't have any worries at all.
Yeah.
And I know they brought in Kobe Smith. Kobe had experience in NFL. College experience,
running backs.
The receivers coach has done a very good job recruiting. So I mean, you can hand the keys to Bobby, and you got Morgan Turner back on the tight ends, and Luke's back. He did bang up his ankle a little bit Thursday, but he should be okay. I thought it was worse at first, but it turned out he just stepped on a teammate's foot. But
got the sound producer with me today here, as you can see.
All right, yeah.
But so when you turn the keys over to the running back room, and that's one of the things I know that Jimmy Smith has moved on to TCU, but I think that Sam made a great hire with Bobby also bringing Colby in. But one of the guys I think is going to really benefit from that is going to be Jaquindon Jackson, because I'm going to tell you what, man, between him and Braylon Russell, it's like carbon copies. Those guys are the same size. They run. Braylon might be a tad slower than Jaquindon is. And let's face it, Rocket was great, but Rocket also saw the writing on the wall too, that he might be third on this depth chart between Augustov and also with these two guys that they come into the fold. And I forgot, what about Rashad Dubinion too? Because that room is stacked again. It really is. And Jaquindon's got a lot of experience coming in from Utah.
Yeah, he was the leading rusher at Utah last year. Big kid. I'll tell you what, Kobe Smith inherits a big running back room. Jimmy left it in great shape. He left that in great shape there. And, even with A.J. Green and Rocket Sanders transferring, Jimmy Smith still left that room in great shape, man. And, Kobe Smith walks into a very, very good situation. Very good situation. I can't talk, but he's got big guys, got fast guys, he's got a little bit of everything. But yeah, Jaquindon was the leading rusher at Utah. Saw him play in high school, Jason. He was one heck of a quarterback at Duncanville, and that's why he went to Utah. They promised him he could play quarterback, and he did, but then he switched about the fourth game of last year. 1 year there, he switched to running back, and that's where he stayed, and that was a good move for him. All these guys can catch the ball. There's a question about, can he catch the ball out of the backfield? And that's like, you've seen Rashad. The running backs will catch the ball in Bobby's offense more than they have under anybody else. Braylon Russell's got good hands. Rashad's got good hands. Jaquindon's got good hands. Gustave, I'm assuming, has good hands. So, but I've seen Jaquindon catch some passes. But he's getting out there on that deal, and he's a load when he gets out on the corner. Jaquindon is. Lord. All of them are. They're big guys. Those, except for Rashad, those are all huge guys. Braylon Russell, I wouldn't want to get in front of him. So
Lord, I saw Braylon Russell, and I didn't realize how thick he is. And I even saw Dominic Johnson cut, and I saw him juke a DB on last Friday, and I just about lost my mind. I thought, this guy wasn't even doing that last year. He was just more up north and south. He's got a little bit juke. I think that those knees are starting to, they're finally catching up with the rest of his body.
Yeah, getting rid of that knee brace helps to Dominic, and I'm not going to count him out. I've counted him out a million times.
No way.
Never about talent. Never about talent. Let me be clear on that. I just felt like those injuries was going to be too much for him to overcome it. There was never, in my mind, a doubt about Dominic Johnson's talent. But so I never counted him out talent-wise, but I did count him out with just one injury after another, and it just felt like he was snake bitten. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with his talent or him, but that's why I counted him out, but simply because I felt like he was just too much to overcome all of them. But with that said, he's got a role on this team. I think all five of those kids have a role. They're not going to play five running backs every game, but there again, like I talked about Taylor and Green, you will have injuries along the way, and you will have some guy that gets a hot hand. I think by the end of the year, you will see most of these kids getting a few carries. And
if you got guys aren't catching out of the slot, Bobby's going to move that running back out of the backfield into the slot. He may have two. He may go with a two-back set and move one of those guys into the slot that has, that's catching the ball better than the guy that you may have in that wide out position room. And that's where Bobby's going to excel too, because one of the things I noticed last Friday was that Talon, Malachi, and also Jacoby were hitting guys on the second level, not the first level.
Yeah.
I felt like KJ kind of sold out a little bit with dumping it off right within that 5 to 10 yard range. They were consistently finding guys open. And yeah, it was 7-on-7, but I really feel like you're going to start to see that more because that's where Bobby excels, is getting guys open in that second level, right around that 10 to 20 yard range that can make another 5 to 10 yards. And that's a huge difference in getting got a 5-yard gain versus a 25-yard gain, because then now you got chunk plays. And that's where Bobby's I really feel like he's going to excel with this offense.
Yeah, there's been receivers last year. One of the gripes was they couldn't get separation, and this year they're getting separation. Same receivers, and part of that, I don't know how Bobby does that. I really don't, but he has ways to get receivers separation. Same receivers, he just has ways, a knack of doing that. I don't know how he does it, but he does. And it's amazing what he does with that. And so these same receivers that everybody said couldn't get separation last year are getting separation this year. And it's not because the defensive backs are bad either. I mean,
no,
you got Jalen Braxton.
Same group from last year.
You got Snacks. So you've got good cornerbacks out there. And you added 3 from the transfer portal, Marquise Robinson, who I love. You've got the kid from Tennessee and then the kid from Florida. So you've got new players back there, and you still got Hudson Clark. You still got the Metcalf brothers. They're going to be good.
Yep.
Both those kids are going to be good.
You got Dallas back there still too. Yeah. I mean, it's just
Jalen Braxton's another level. I mean, he is just, I knew that when he was in high school. He was just another level player. He's one of them blue chippers. I mean, a true blue chip recruit. Jalen Braxton is. He's that good.
See here. Really quick, I want to touch on the defense for just for a couple of moments too, because I feel like we've been really offense heavy. One of the things that you don't hear about is the defense, because there hasn't been a lot of turnover at all. You've got all the coaches back. You've got most of the players back. You had a couple of guys that are going to go in the draft or have already termed out as far as eligibility goes. But a defense that made such huge strides from the year before to last year are now in the second year under Coach Woodson, Coach Williams. And I'm going to tell you what, one of the things that I'm excited about is to see what the DBs are able to do. We already know what we're going to get really with the defensive line. Deke has still got it pretty stacked on the front end. He's brought in some new guys, but it's the defensive secondary being able to close out on third down, and that's what's going to be a really key point for this defense to get off the field, to get Taylor Green more and Bobby Petrino more reps on the offensive side to really put pressure on that other team. But it really starts out with the third down defense, and that starts with the secondary.
Yeah, and secondary's somewhat of a question. I'll tell you, the pass rush should be pretty good. That helps the secondary. If you put the secondary back there on an island by themselves, obviously they're going to struggle some, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think Landon Jackson, Nico, guys asking what will be the biggest weakness going to be defensively. It will not be linebacker. I know a lot of people have speculated that will be this problem. I'm telling you, a kid named Brad Carson is really, or Carson Dean, I'm sorry.
Carson Dean,
but Carson Dean has really came on. Xavier Sorey is the real deal. But Brad
kid from Georgia,
good, but Carson Dean's really coming on. They're not weak at linebacker. I know with 4 hitting the portal, it's easy to look at that and say, well, Paul's gone, James gone. But honestly, I think Sorey has a chance to be really good. And then between Carson Dean and Brad Spence, I think you've got that other one. Still got the kid from Mississippi, Oxford, Alex Sanford. You still got Bradley Shaw's not even here yet.
Yeah.
You got Caden Henley, you got Juju Pope, Wyatt Simmons is still coming in. There's one more, and I'm missing one more, and I can't think who I'm not mentioning. There's one more. and I can't think who it is. I believe there's one more there, but whatever. My point is, they're going to be pretty good there at linebacker. I really think so. And they're going to sign one more out of the portal come May. They're going to sign another kid out of the portal at linebacker. Right now, the biggest weakness probably be secondary. I don't know that it's going to be a weakness, but that would be my biggest worry.
Yep.
I think it's got numbers and the talent to do okay, but Cameron Ball is really getting a lot of publicity, rightfully so. That kid's the real deal. Cameron Ball is legit. He always has been.
Is it Justin Logan you're thinking of? Freshman linebacker coming in?
Yeah, that's the other kid, Logan. Yeah, I knew there was one more. Yeah, because I know I've got a number in mind how many on scholarship. Yeah, Logan was the other kid. He hasn't really gotten much praise yet in the spring, but
he's got good size. He's 6'2", 226, a 4-star out of Kennesaw.
Probably going to be okay. Yeah. And I remember last spring, Jalen Braxton didn't turn any heads in the spring. And all of a sudden in the fall, he just came back a different person. So, yeah, if you remember Jalen Braxton, because I thought he was great, and then he didn't really do anything last spring to really make you go, wow. Comes back in the fall and looked like a completely different kid just over the summer. And Logan can do that, and some of these kids can do that. But I think Bradley Shaw is a kid to watch. White Simmons is good too. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But secondary would be my biggest worry, simply because they're back there. I mean, but you've got guys like Braxton, Hudson Clark, Snacks. You've got guys who have played. I love the Metcalf brothers. We've named some of the others. You've got the kids from the transfer portal. It'll be interesting. I'm anxious to see a scrimmage, see how they do in a scrimmage, and then know more about it,
Yep. And, not only are they going to have a quarterback battle, they're also going to have a kicker battle too, because Cam Little's moved on to the NFL, and rightfully so. Kid needs to go earn his money. He really does. And great kid at that. But now you've got a kicker battle.
Yeah. Well, Matt Shipley's going to be the kicker. As far as place kicking, he kicked a 52-yarder the other day. He's accurate. I mean, that's the biggest thing about Shipley, and that's what you want. You want a guy who can kick a 52-yarder, but you want somebody who's accurate, that doesn't – nothing hurts worse than getting down there and then missing a – you have to settle for a field goal, and then you miss that, and you get nothing. That's what really demoralizes a team. I don't see that happening with Shipley. He's kind of like Cam Little in that sense. I think he will put points on the board. I'm not saying he's as good as Cam Little, but he's probably about as close as you could get to it. He looks good. I know Scott Fountain takes a lot of credit, got a lot of critics out there in the fans, but I don't know why. I mean, they kicked off well with him. They've had a few inconsistent punts, but that's not Fountain's fault. I mean, the kid booms most punts. He has a couple off the side of his foot. I mean, that's not Scott's fault. I mean, most punters do that, but but he's had a solid special teams. I remember how bad it was before he got here. Couldn't find a kicker in the end zone.
Hell, you didn't even have a gunner that you could put out there, more or less a kicker, and that was one of the big problems. And that's why you saw such.
I don't get all
even against that Georgia game.
Fountain. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I think the guy's done an amazing job and continuing to do an amazing job. He finds these kickers, and I remember they go find a scholarship kicker, and then they'd end up using a walk-on. The scholarship kicker get beat out. You don't see that anymore. So, I mean, he knows what he wants. He knows what he's looking for, and he can identify them. And it's tough, kickers, because they're a different animal, man. Those kids got
a different breed.
Yeah, definitely a different breed. But I just remember how bad special teams was before he got here. So these people criticizing him, they might want to be careful what you wish for when they're wanting him fired, because I think you're barking up the wrong tree there. I really do. I think you're badly mistaken there.
Yeah. So a couple of bookkeeping notes for everybody out there. First up, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Otis, you haven't seen this yet. I don't know if you have yet, but this is the highest, or the highest amount of eyes that we have had watched live since I've started here. We're right around today. 216 people live watching us at the
Awesome.
same time.
Thank you to everybody. Appreciate it,
Yes.
man. Much appreciated. Yeah, that's good. It's good to do this. It's one thing to do them if you feel like nobody's watching, but if people are interested in watching it makes you feel good. So, I mean, I'm glad. I hope we answer. And like I said, next time, if you're on here and you got questions, punch them in down there. I don't.
Yep.
Jason knows how it works. I'm only on here, but
we've had quite a
make an attempt.
We've had quite a few, and just as those questions have come up, we've kind of answered most of them.
Yeah.
But a couple of bookkeeping notes really quick. So this week is spring break for the university, so there is no practice this week. But the next opportunity to the fans fans have to go out and watch the team is on the 30th. In the spring, the practice is at 9 a.m. So go get some breakfast, bring it to the stadium. It's free. Everybody can just flood in there, watch. I mean, they're going to go through, and it's going to be a practice, but they are going to have a scrimmage with that.
Yeah.
Then followed up on Saturday, the 6th. It's going to be at 10:25 a.m. So that's a little further, a little back from the 9 a.m. start, but the week after that, that's when you have the spring game, which is at noon. There's going to be all sorts of fanfare. Yeah. I know that the SEC network is going to be out for that too as well. So make sure that you got 3 different opportunities coming up, like Otis had talked about earlier, to watch this team, get an idea, and go out there and see for yourselves. And we're not blowing smoke up anybody's rear on this. We're just reporting to you everything that we're seeing, because let's face it, Arkansas needs some good stuff to happen. You see it right now in baseball, but football and basketball did no favors this last year. And so the fans want to see something good. Yeah. Go watch softball. Also, Courtney Deifel got her 300th win yesterday. Big shout out to her, because she's one of the best to do it, and all-time win leader at Arkansas. Now she's at that 300 plateau. I want to say congratulations to her as well.
Yeah, there's just got to get football and basketball rolling, and I think they will. The difference this year is we're getting to watch the whole football practice, the entire practice, opposed to the first 5 periods or something, 6 periods. So it makes a lot of difference. I can tell you more about what I see than what necessarily relying on what Sam or the players tell you. Now a lot of these first few practices, just Thursday was in pads, but there's more pads. Then there'll be more. You can tell more after that. It's easier to tell with pads. And I'm looking forward to the scrimmages where they're actually playing, tackling and stuff. But I'm going to tell you, Taylor Green is the real deal. I love Petrino's offense. I just think Bobby is. I mean, he's such a huge upgrade over what they had last year with Enos. I mean, I was never an Enos fan. I didn't think it was. I thought that was a bad hire when Sam made it, and I still think it was. I mean, the offensive line
from the get-go, man.
Offensive line didn't do him any favors. I fully get that, but I think Mateus was a good hire. I'm sure Kobe Smith is a good hire. I don't know why he wouldn't be. I mean, the guy's had pro experience. He's got college experience. I mean, Jimmy was a very good running back coach. And he came as a high school coach. So, Gus Malzahn was a high school coach when he's hard. Those guys. So, I mean, Kobe certainly has the qualifications. And then Ronnie Fouch, Sam said the other day, I know one thing. When I look at the kids that's visiting on official visits and unofficial, I see a ton of receivers. And that tells me Ronnie Fouch is recruiting his butt off. Now, it also tells me these kids know Bobby Petrino's offense. I get that. But you still got to have a receiver coach to kind of get the interest going, plant the seed there. And part of it, receivers flocking to Fayetteville was because of Petrino. I get that. But Sam is really high on Ronnie Fouch. That's the one I didn't know a whole lot about when he hired him. But I don't think anybody did. Bobby did, obviously, but I don't think anybody else did.
From Missouri State.
Yeah, but I look at this staff. I think they've upgraded, if nothing else, because of Bobby Petrino. But I don't look at any of these coaches, these new coaches, and think they've taken a step back. I don't look at any of and much as I like Jimmy Smith and Kenny Guyton and Cody Kendi, I don't look at any of these positions and say they've taken a step back. Have they dramatically improved? I don't know that. I think that I don't know what happened with Cody last year. I don't know. I don't think he's a bad coach. He's a good guy, but he lost that offensive line room last year, whatever reason. I don't know. When I say he's a good guy, I'm talking about how he deals with me, and real nice guy. And it's just something happened there. They didn't produce. And when he didn't produce, when they're 4-8 and the offensive line doesn't produce,
it was visible for the entire state to see.
You knew they were. And I thought getting Mateus was huge. Guyton, Fouch, I think, if nothing else, I think that's a pretty equal swap off.
What I think, honestly, is that Sam this offseason is replicated what he did on the defensive side of the ball last season in terms of hires, because last year you saw that defense get shored up with the great hires that he did make. And I really feel like Sam got credit for that, but he didn't get the maximum amount of credit because of what happened with the offense. Now you're starting to see him do the same thing on the offensive side of the ball. And if you have a replication of what happened on defense now with offense, with the hires that he's made, man, I'm going to tell you what, this guy's going to start to look start to look stellar. And this whole business of he was 4-8 last season, we need to get him out of here. We need to get some new blood. We need to get somebody in here that can reinvigorate the fan base, also the locker room, more or less. Really, honestly, it starts with the locker room. That's already happening, because you and I have both watched it, where there's been guys on both sides of the ball have either made a great play or made a misstep or something of that sort, and another guy make a great play. Last year, you didn't see guys sit there cheering for him. This year, you are seeing that. There is camaraderie back in that locker room. Isaiah Satania said it best. Him and who was it? I can't remember. I think it was Isaiah Satania. Basically, it said that this locker room, there's a lot of love there, and there is a lot of care. And Vince Lombardi said it the best: you have to care about the person you play with to be a teammate.
When Isaiah caught that long touchdown pass Thursday from Talon, he beat Snacks. Snacks went for the interception, and once Isaiah got a step on him, there was no catching Isaiah. It was over. Snacks went for the interception, didn't get it, and Isaiah got it and was gone. Perfectly thrown ball. But the point of all that was, when Isaiah got to the end zone, the whole offense was down there cheering him on. Braun, Kudas, Carmona, Taylor Green, whoever the running back was, and the other receivers, whoever they were, Armstrong, those guys were down there cheering Isaiah, high-fiving him, chest bump, just doing things that they do to celebrate. It wasn't okay, it was, you could see the spirit, and even the offensive lineman rushed down there. I saw Braun and Carmona and those guys and Nichols.
It was right now, these guys give a shit about each other, and that's what was different than last year.
Yeah, it showed there, and it was just a touchdown in a scrimmage or in a practice. So it looked good. I think, just like I said, I think a lot of the offensive stuff that was bad last year, all the issues they had there, I think a lot of that disappears because I think Bobby Petrino solves a lot of issues. I think Bobby can even mask some of the issues they had. There may still be there. I think his play calling, his offense can hide some of that. So I can't underestimate how much hiring Bobby Petrino, it certainly helped Sam with the fan, with the perception. But beyond that, like I said, that really, though, will fade if they don't win. And Bobby as a play caller is amazing. And I look for big things from him. Somebody asked about Broden. He's kind of a guy that he's out there. I really haven't seen anything he's done outstanding. I haven't seen anything he's done that's bad. He's just kind of, like I said, you got to understand, the one practice was closed that Sunday, so we didn't get to see any of it. Three of the other four were in shorts. So, so when they were in pads Thursday. That was the first time in pad. When they do more pads, more scrimmage, we can tell more about Broden's going to be fine. He's solid.
Yeah,
he's a solid player. I think Isaiah. I think Desmond James has had some good moments. David Dozier's had some good moments. Obviously, that was a circus catch he made the other day. It wasn't a badly thrown ball. It was just that he went up and got in an area where Jacoby threw it in an area where it had to be the only place it could be completed, and it required Davion being a little bit of a circus catch. It's just a great play, great coverage. I don't remember who the defensive back was, but it was just a great play. I was talking to a former player at the time, but I looked up and saw the play, and so I don't remember who was the defensive back, but he had good coverage. I mean, Snacks on Isaiah didn't have bad coverage. That was just a perfect thrown ball, and once Snacks went for the went for the pick, it looked like it was over because Isaiah gets a step on you, it's over. The race is over. It's touchdown.
And every one of these wide receivers that's in that room are going to benefit simply because Bobby is Bobby. And that's what, Andrew Armstrong is going to also feel the love on that too as well. One of the things I noticed when I was at Pro Day last Wednesday was Bobby was there for the entire Pro Day. Sam was there too. Bobby stayed from end to end. And what Bobby was really laser focused on was what type of routes these guys or how they were running these routes that they were running for Cade Fortin whenever he was out there throwing. And you saw a little bit of sloppiness on their cuts on where they were coming in. And I've noticed that Bobby really was zeroing in on that. He would mention something to somebody and then they would go talk to the wide receiver a little bit. But you also saw Bobby kind of unleash a little bit this week whenever there was, there was some breakdown in a play, and you don't see the tornado that he was before, but you are going to see him get into these guys, which is what they need. They haven't had a lot of that before. And now, irons are going to sharpen irons. And I think that's where you're going to start to see a lot of progress on that offensive side of the ball too.
Well, you can be a hard butt if people respect you. If they don't respect you, then you're going to lose the team doing that. But I can't imagine there's anybody that plays offense that doesn't respect Bobby Petrino. So, and I know he's mellowed a lot since he was here before. But there's times where you require that. And if they respect you, that's a positive, not a negative. And I'm sure that those kids respect, whether you like Bobby or not, I'm sure they respect what he knows about offense, because there's not a kid on that offense that Bobby Petrino can't make better.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if you get better, the NFL is going to draft you higher. But there's not a kid over there right now that can't be helped on offense because of Bobby Petrino. Hell, even the defensive backs are going to get better because they're going to have to find ways to cover those receivers, because he can get separation when the other receivers coaches couldn't and offensive coordinators couldn't. So Bobby is going to make them better if they will listen to him, and I think they will. I think they're respecting. He's got a track record. He knows what he's doing. Nick Saban could be a hard butt because people knew he knew what he was talking about. You can't go out there and be a clown and be a hard butt. They'll blow you off. They'll leave. But if you know what you're doing, they respect you. Most people know these kids are pretty mature. They know when they make a mistake, they probably deserve to be held out a little bit or gotten on to. But the thing about Bobby is he will correct you, as you talked about with the running the routes, not just holler at you, but he will correct you and tell you how to do it right. Not just jump your butt because you did it wrong and then go you do it wrong again. He jumps your butt again. He will tell you how to do it right. And that's, to me, that's what you should want if you're a player, if you're wanting to play in the NFL one day. And I don't believe there's a player at the University of Arkansas. We know not all 85 scholarship kids will be in the NFL. We know that. But I guarantee 85 kids over right now on scholarship. I guess there's 80 on scholarship right now, and they all think they want to be in the NFL one day for the most part. There might be a few that thinks, well, I just want to get my degree and go into business. There's some like that. But I guarantee most of those 80 kids, because they've got 5 scholarships, they're going to sign 2 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen, and a linebacker. And April signing period. That's what they're out of the portal. Now, if somebody else leaves, that could open up something else. But right now, they've got 80 kids on scholarship. They're wanting 2 interior defensive linemen. They don't have an interior defensive lineman in this class, period. Right now, they don't have one.
Yeah.
School or portal. They want two offensive linemen, one being a center. They brought in the kid from SMU the other day. And
how's that looking for Arkansas?
If they can get by the TCU factor, they'll probably get him, but I don't know if they can get by that. His dad played for TCU. His dad, and he's visiting TCU. His dad played there, so I don't know. That's going to be a factor. And if they can overcome that, they probably got a really good chance of getting him. But if they can't, then there's nothing they can do about that. But and then, like I said, a linebacker. You would have thought originally they were going to get 2, but guys like Carson Dean, Brad Spence, Sorey's the real deal. I think they knew what they had there. Sorey reminds me a little bit. I'm not saying he's as good as Drew Sanders, but that's what he reminds. His situation is what I should say reminds me of Drew Sanders. Very good player at Alabama. Kind of got lost in the shuffle there a little bit. Was playing, but not getting to show out. Sorey can show out at Arkansas. He was starting some and playing at Georgia. Arkansas, he can stand out, and that will help him. Drew Sanders doesn't get drafted that high by the Broncos if he stays at Alabama. At Arkansas, Sorey can do the same thing. His situation reminds me a lot of Drew Sanders. I think he may even be a better true linebacker than Sanders was, but we'll see on that. That's to be determined. But because Sanders was more of an edge guy that made an inside linebacker. Sorey's been an inside linebacker. That's why I say he may have an advantage there. But regardless, his situation reminds me of Drew Sanders, that he was playing at Georgia, but he wasn't getting all the exposure that he will get at Arkansas, all the attention.
Yeah.
And that's going to help him when it comes time for to go to the NFL eventually. And so I like Sorey. But Carson Dean, Brad Spence, Alex Stanford, those guys, Caden Henley, Juju Pope. But I'm looking forward to getting Brad Shaw, and Mason Simmons in here. Wyatt Simmons in here.
Wyatt Simmons, from Harding Academy, isn't it?
Yeah, over Cersei, yeah.
So before we get out of here, I want to take just a moment to recognize somebody that Arkansas loves. Arkansas has rooted for. Arkansas was hoping for the comeback to complete, and it's just not going to happen. But I want to say, good luck in the future to Quincy McAdoo. It was really sad to see that he has retired from football.
Yeah.
He made a post about his retirement a couple of days ago, and that was one of the things that Arkansas was rooting for, was just the fan base getting him back, not because he's such a great player, but because you want to see the kid succeed. Yeah. And you want to see the kid succeed in life, and this was the best route for him to succeed in life. And I want to wish all the best to Quincy.
Yeah, he was going to be a Sunday player in the future at cornerback. Reminded me a little bit. And again, I'm not saying he's as good as Travis Hunter, but that's who he reminded me of, the kid at Colorado that played both ways. That's kind of who he reminded me of a little bit. He has that type of game. But Quincy, I'd written a month or so ago that he was his career was over, and I got some kickback from the U of A saying he hadn't talked to the doctor. Even Quincy, I think, said that. And so it was accurate at the time. He wasn't going to play. But in fairness to him, I just said, okay. And so then, but he officially announced it himself after he saw the doctor. And, but it was accurate when I wrote it a month or so ago that he was retiring. But he officially announced it, which was the best way for him to do it. So it was good. But it's an unfortunate deal, because this kid had Sundays in his future, in my opinion, at corner. Very good receiver, but I mean, he was unreal at cornerback. I mean, to go over halfway through the season, not even practice that position and not start because they were weak there, but I mean, the impact that he made.
A lot of people forget, he was a wide receiver before he moved to cornerback.
Well, he was a good receiver too. He was a very good receiver. He was a kid that I was hoping Sam And I know Quincy wanted to do this. He wanted to catch a few passes and play cornerback too. And I was hoping Sam would let him do that. He showed up big in the bowl game against Kansas. He even had that bogus targeting call that the NCAA came out and acknowledged was a bad call. So Quincy wouldn't have to sit out the first half of the season opener in Little Rock last year. Of course, eventually had that car wreck, so it didn't matter. But that shows you the type player he is. He made an impact in that bowl game, and he was highly thought of enough at the NCAA to come out and acknowledge that the refs blew that call. They blew a lot of them that night in the Liberty Bowl. That was a bad crew. I think it was a Pac-12 crew. That was a bad. They missed reviews. I mean, they review the play and still get it wrong. But I don't know what they were doing, but they were bad.
Well, that Pac-12 crew now has no home. So, I mean,
they won't
is what it is.
Because those guys were awful. I mean, I'm sorry, but they were awful. And Arkansas had to win that game 3 times. The receiver from Arkansas was down when they caught his elbow was down. They said he fumbled. Quincy didn't target.
No, I felt like that crew was trying to just keep the game going at that point because it was just
they weren't very good. I know every review they're over on the Kansas sideline hammering it up with the Kansas players, and that didn't look very professional.
No. Well, Otis, man, I'm going to get you out of here, and I want to thank everybody for jumping on with us today. Otis, we hit the 300 mark.
All right.
We hit the 300 mark.
Appreciate everybody coming on what we do, man.
Yeah.
I mean, truly appreciate it. We don't have a job without fans. That's the thing that everybody needs to remember. We don't have a job. If there's nobody reading it or nobody watching the stuff or reading what we write, we don't have a job. So, I mean, without fans, it's great. And it's good to back doing these and got something to talk about today. And like I said, we'll start doing them again. And hopefully.
Did you want to introduce or talk about the new guy that we have got with us for football next season really quick before we jump out of here? Because Drake Pretty, the guy that was co-hosting with me with the post-game shows and was writing.
Talking about the reporter, Jerry Meadows.
Yeah, we got Jerry Meadows that's going to be on the crew with us this year.
Yeah, Jerry's been to practice. He's a Bulldog. He goes over and watches it. Already written a story about quarterbacks. Jerry's a Bulldog. He's a hard worker. I've known him all my life. Played ball with him, and he's shortstop, and I was second base. And Jerry's a very good athlete. Was a very good athlete. He's not now like me. He's an old man now, but we've seen better days. But no, he was. But he's a Bulldog when it comes to this, and he's very interested. I'm still hoping Drake comes back and does some work with us, but that's up to Drake. And I fully get he's got a family, he's got commitments. So but that's up to Drake. Drake's still welcome to do anything he wants. And I've told
anytime.
Drake. Then of course, still Dudley. And so, we feel like the main thing at the games this fall, we will still have me writing the game story, Dudley writing the opposing coach. Jason and Jerry will do sidebars, that determine how the game plays out, what determines what they write. But we'll still have the same 4 stories from the game, not counting what Mike Irwin and Pig Trail Nation do. Talking about just the Hogville crew. So you're going to have full coverage of the football team in the fall. But Jerry's a Bulldog. He's still learning. He's written a book, I think, but former pastor, which is good for me to be around. I need somebody around that when I get but
you get a little salty on the side there, yeah.
But no, he's a former pastor, good guy, hard worker, Bulldog type mentality. But he's written book or 2, but he's still learning the sports writing angle. But he will, and he's got plenty of time. But you'll like him. He does a good job. Drake did it. Drake,
super nice guy.
Yeah, Jerry's a good guy, man. He's a good guy. You'll enjoy his stuff, and he like I said, he's got Bulldog mentality about him. When he's out there taking notes, writing everything down, really organized. And I've known him all my life, so played ball for his dad, baseball for his dad, and So I've known Jerry for all my life, and he's a good guy, and I think people will enjoy him. But yeah, and like I said, I hope Drake still does something with us. But
Yep.
Brandon Drake, whatever you want to call, I call him Drake, but
Yep.
yeah, I loved him. He was great. He did a great job too. We've been fortunate there, and everything we do is free. So just keep that in mind, that you don't have to have a subscription. It's free, and all of it's made possible because of Lanny Beavers. If it wasn't for Lanny, and Pig Trail Nation,
we wouldn't all be here.
We wouldn't be here. So especially Lanny Beavers is kind of the driving force behind all of it, and so always. I thank him all the time, because when he hired me, he created a job to hire me to get this whole ball going, and then created a job for Dudley, but he created a job for me when he hired me, and he had tried to hire me in the past, and it just wasn't the right timing. But I got tired of CBS. I didn't want to be a national reporter. I wanted to cover the Hogs. They made a decision to move me to the covering 9 schools. I believe it was 9, like Southern Cal, UCLA, Washington, Michigan State, Indiana, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Clemson, Indiana.
That's all over the place.
Yeah, they had me all over the place, and I was looking to get out, and I talked to Lanny. It took a while. That started before they took me off the Arkansas beat. Actually, I think that started in February, but he had to work this. Like I said, he created the job. It took a long time to get this worked out with the TV station, with NBC and stuff. So it took a long time, but I think we finally got it finalized in June or July of that year. And as soon as he did, then I negotiated the buyout of my contract with CBS to come work for Lanny. So yeah, but I appreciate him, appreciate everybody, and but anyway, it's great to be here and appreciate everybody. But like I said, the whole thing, whether you're at NBC, Hogville, CBS, it doesn't matter. You got to have fans. If you fans supporting you, if you don't, it's a losing cause. And I'm hoping the Razorbacks provide a better football team to support this year for you guys, because you deserve it. And I think they'll be better. And God knows I don't want to cover another football and basketball season like the ones I just covered. But I do think took some great step hiring Bobby Petrino. And like I said, I don't think he's gone backward on any of his hires. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Kobe Smith's an upgrade over Jimmy, or Ronnie Faust's an upgrade over Kenny, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're not at least neutral. I don't. They may not be upgrades, but they're not any worse. And
they were.
And I respect
good hires.
Those guys. I thought they were good coaches. So I don't. I've seen more out of Faust than I have Kobe Smith, but I don't look at these hires that Sam has made and feel like they've gone backward on any hire they've made. I feel like they went forward on Petrino. I feel like they went forward on Eric, and that's not a shot at Cody, but he lost that room, like I said, somehow, for whatever reason. Cody lost that room last year, and I think Eric has got it back. Eric's a really strong recruiter too, and apparently Faust is a really good recruiter.
Just remember, guys, next Saturday, there's no practice this Saturday just because of spring break. Next Saturday, the 30th, practice 9 a.m. And then the following Saturday, which is April 6th, practice is at 10:25 a.m., which are all open to the public. And then the spring game is at noon on April 13th. If you guys see us at the stadium, come up, say hey for a second, and we'll shoot the crap with you. We'll talk some football too as well. But Otis, let's get you out of here, my guy. And for Otis, myself, Jason, I want to thank you guys for jumping on with us today. And go Hogs.
See you, man. Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Good job, man. Appreciate you, and talk to you later.
All right.